folks. Welcome back to the Straightforward Farming Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Reed, alongside Nick McCormick, as always. Nick, what's new with you today?
Oh, just finished up the softball season with my daughter. Basketball starts, well, it started a week or two ago. So first game's Thursday. Volleyball starts Tuesday. So, yeah.
Is your boy, is he playing basketball too? Then?
Yeah, but that hasn't started yet. So
yeah, it's going to get real busy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wintertime fun.
Yep. These kids' sports keep you hopping.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep. I'm fortunate that in that aspect, got one girl that plays volleyball, and that's it. So, got to admit, I'm lucky there.
I enjoy it, but it's a lot of coming and going and a lot of miles. And
yeah, I do enjoy watching kids that age play. It's always the dang practices and the tournament in friggin' Detroit that, gets.
No doubt.
It's like you couldn't find something a little bit closer.
If you want to anger my wife, just say the word double header.
Oh,
I say the word double header, you'll knock her off. Yeah.
I'm just highly disappointed in the fact that the school that we went to has now probably decreased by 25% since we went there. But we had to build on all these new facilities. We were going to host all these tournaments. I mean, you would have thought this was Madison Square Garden. I mean, this thing was going to pay for itself hand over fist from selling candy bars and shit at the concession stand because of all these big tournaments. Yeah. We don't ever have any tournaments here. We always got to travel 3 hours away. So I don't know if you're local, listen to this, find out what's going on.
Yeah, I hear you there. But I digress. It's farming season. Harvest is upon us. Hopefully everything goes smooth there and get the crop in and get to buy some of these nice pricey inputs for next year.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, and here we're a day or two into harvest, and it's sitting here raining now, showering. I mean, shouldn't be detrimental here, but
no.
I hope we don't get stuck in this pattern. I see there's a big storm down in the Caribbean pushing up towards Florida. As of now, looks like it's going to cross Florida out into the Atlantic. I always hate them.
Yeah,
always get nervous. You get one of them big monsters and it pushes clear up. Because they'll push clear up here in Illinois sometimes. I mean, it's kind of a rare occasion. And, you're obviously not getting hurricane force winds, but it's one of them deals that'll set in for 2 days and hell, you'll get 2 inches of rain and, it'll be 20 mile an hour winds and just nasty and it sucks. But not saying that's the case on this one, but
not what we need during harvest time.
No. I'm still scarred from last fall's muddy mess.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do everything I can to put every ounce of fertilizer, anhydrous, everything on.
So let me ask you this before we get into the anhydrous fertilizer fall input thing. Do you view a wet fall differently now than you did when you were a kid?
I do, for sure.
A wet fall as a kid, it's kind of like off-roading in a four-wheeler or a tractor. Like, I'm not saying I'm the world's best pulling tractor driver by any means, but I do think there's some skills to be learned by a wet fall on too small a tractor with too big a wagon.
Yeah.
And having to get your way out of that. Like, you get on an 806 that, doesn't shift phenomenal, that the torque's probably out of in my world, because once we fixed them, we sold them. So you're on 806, the torque out, NA, no power, big wagons, muddy fall.
Tires are shit.
Like, you got to get creative.
Yeah.
And your dad is going to be super pissed if you get stuck because, by God, he could have made it out of there.
That's right.
So you find a way. You make it work. Like, muddy falls when I was a kid were a little bit of fun. Like, spin a little mud here up on the fender, not a big deal. Like, it happens. You're going to do that in those situations.
And for those of you that's never had the pleasure of using wagons in the field, which I haven't for a good 20 years anyway, been a long time.
Yeah.
But you got 400 or 500 bushel packed on a wagon with nice, big, tall, narrow tires, and usually you get about one shot back and one shot forward before they're down to the
before you're done. Yeah.
And that's it.
You're done.
Yeah, that's right. Once you get one of them moving, you do not stop for nothing. No. You pull out in front of cars, you do whatever it takes to get that tractor on pavement.
I remember we had a wet fall, I don't know how many years ago it's been, and I had traded grain carts, much to my dad's objections. And of course, as soon as I traded the damn thing, it started raining. And the tractor we had on was too small for the cart I traded for. It wasn't front wheel assist at the time. It's been several years ago. And of course, as soon as it starts raining, then I have to hear all these lectures. Yep, see, I told you, I had a small cart. We can get through this, but you got this big cart. So I literally had to come blowing up. We were still using a lot of wagons then. And I had to come blowing up there, front end in the air, like slam the brake, kind of half cock it, turn it, because there was one spot you could park the wagons that was firm, driveway area, and that was it. So you blow off the first half of the cart so you could make the rest of the swing to load the wagons correctly and then send them on their way or whatever. And then it rained again. Then we bought a front wheel assist and never really looked back. But yeah, he's like, I told you that car didn't balance as good as the other one. I'm like, it balances fine. It's way bigger than the other one. And yeah, we're screwed. But yeah, we got through it. It was fine. It was in the long run, it was a great purchase, and it worked out just fine.
Speaking of grain carts, you and I have had this conversation in the past, but you guys had that. It was a UFT conveyor cart, right? Why did that never catch on? To me, that's a phenomenal idea.
Well, so UFT came out with that cart. So they had a hydraulic auger version of that one before that.
And as what I'm saying is, look, just like a normal grain cart, but instead of an auger, it was a conveyor belt.
It was a conveyor belt.
But it folded back just like an auger.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole principle was the same, but it was just a conveyor belt.
It was a conveyor belt. And so you could put it on a four-wheel drive or whatever that didn't have a PTO, whatever. Great concept. So not too long after they came out with that cart, that company sold out, which obviously didn't help the cause. But the short go of that was carts were getting bigger. That cart got passed up in size-wise, and that the we'll call it an auger, even though it was a conveyor belt, wasn't long enough. Long term, as things grew, the nice part was like you could lower it down flat, you could raise it up like it was,
and then you could
fully
spin it
spin
forward,
it side to side. Like
yeah,
it was well ahead of its time, but it wasn't big enough in the grand scheme of things. Like it missed its window.
Yeah, and it's been. I mean, what's that been? 25 years. I mean, it's been a long time ago. And so I forget now. Did that have like an auger that dumped it onto the conveyor, or how did it get it out of the cart onto the conveyor?
I think there was another belt in there.
Was there? I couldn't remember. It'd been forever since
There's one not too far from us, but I'd have to go look at it, to be honest with you. I think there's another. I think it was all belts.
I couldn't remember if there was a tiny stub auger that dumped it on the conveyor.
I think it was a belt to a belt.
Okay.
I think. I'm pretty sure it was a belt to a belt.
Yeah, so for the listeners to visualize this, it didn't stick way up on a hellacious angle like an auger does now coming out of a cart. This thing laid down more flat, and you could actually move it up and down while you were loading or unloading, front to back while you were unloading. I mean, it worked great. But
honestly, tractors then at that time probably didn't have enough hydraulics. Like today, it'd be better than it was then. It didn't have enough hydraulics to run. It moved a fair amount of grain, and wet grain didn't slow it down as much as it would PTO one. But if you slugged it, if you didn't have enough hydraulics, like you were screwed. So there were some underlying factors there. It was a great idea. It's kind of like some other things we've seen in the farming world. If there had been a second version of it, if the company stayed in business and made a second version of it, it'd have been cat's meow.
Yeah. That was 500 bushel. It wasn't a big cart. I mean,
maybe 6.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yep. But I ain't seen one of them for 25 years, but the concept was neat. But
yeah. I mean, the theory was like you could load your drill or something with it too if you need to. You could lay it down flat there and swing it back and forth. Like you could have put seed in it and kind of used it as a tender before tenders were popular and cool and everywhere. But yeah, kind of good idea, wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that they didn't stick with it, didn't help the cause any.
So far, that's one tool that actually hasn't changed much. Of course, there ain't much to change on a grain. I mean, I guess now they're putting the right side augers on them. Yeah. But, yeah, other than that, they haven't found a way to screw them up yet. I guess we'll put it that way.
I mean, when we got our first grain cart, I wanted to buy a cart, and my dad wanted me to buy a wagon. I come home with a cart, and he was not happy about it. He wasn't like super mad, but he really was angling for another wagon or nothing. Don't spend the money. And we got that. I'm like, cart's as good as a second combine if you can run it there. It took me a long time to convince him of that. But after, one fall, he's like, we can get a lot more done with that unloading on the go. I'm like, yeah, that's why I got it. And that was a 770 Brent, which in reality held about 650. But that was a gateway to to carts for us, and never looked back. And I wouldn't farm without one now. Like,
Yeah.
I helped a neighbor. That's been a number of years ago now, but I told him, I'm like, can I go home and get my cart? He's like, no, we don't need it. It was just me and him. He didn't have anybody else to help that day, which is why I was there. I'm like, but I'm telling you, we could do 10 times more than what we're getting done if you just run a cart. Like, this is miserable driving halfway across the field every time to dump.
You're using your combine as a grain cart.
Yeah, you have a big combine, and it was in a half mile through field, and you could shell down, drive back,
Yeah.
shell down, drive back.
So you're running this thing all over the field using it as a grain cart.
I'm like, this is miserable. Like, let's go get the cart. We didn't have that much to do, so we just got it done. But it wasn't too long after that they got a cart, and the world changed. But yeah, I wouldn't do without my cart now. Wow.
Now, and you're right. You will do as much with one 8-row combine unload on the go as you would with 2 8-rows stopping on the end of dump.
Yes, absolutely.
I will guarantee you that.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're in really good corn on half-mile throughs or whatever. You spend all your time driving.
A lot of your old combines only showed you engine hours. But as combines got newer and they showed you separator versus engine hours, you see one that's got 2,000 engine hours and 1,000 separator hours. That's the guy that drove around a lot.
Yeah.
If that gap's really wide, it's because they're jackassing around, driving the combine around when they should have a grain cart underneath it. If the combine ain't moving, nobody's making money.
Yeah. I've always looked at it. That's the most expensive piece we can run as corn and soybean farmers is a combine. Hands down, the most expensive thing.
Absolutely.
And so I want to keep as many hours off of that thing as I can and make it as efficient as I can and not be run up and down the field with it.
Yeah.
Because essentially, like I said, you're using it as your grain cart. Otherwise, you're just picking till it's full and then you're just driving it all over hell to get to a truck. What good does that do you?
Yeah.
And if you're going to buy a grain cart and park it on the end of the field and dump in it, you just well buy me another truck because now it's a pain in the ass. I pull in with a truck and I got to get out of my truck, go get in the tractor, load my truck, get back out and get back in the truck.
Yeah.
So just park me another truck there and I'll just slip seat. I'll just jump out of one truck, jump in the other, and
Jump
move.
in the other one and go.
Yeah. So a grain cart on the end of the field does me zero good either.
I remember this has been back when I was a little kid. Now I'm talking, I was younger than your son at the time. And it was muddy. We still had a 715, so this is way back. So we were unloading on the go because we were trying to keep all the weight off the combine because it's mud. And we had like one wagon hooked to like a 400, one wagon hooked to like a 560, one wagon hooked to an 806 or whatever. I've never unloaded on one wagon hooked to a pickup truck. Like, Dad's wanting us to unload on the go. Well, I'd never unloaded on the go before. Of course, I don't think that combine wasn't even hydro, I don't think.
Right.
So you got to be right because they can't speed up and slow down.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck, for lack of a better term. You're trying not to get stuck. But, that was unloading on the go 101 with Ferd. Don't screw this up.
Yeah.
Get underneath the auger, catch some grain. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we caught like every wagon like partially full and then he'd top it off, stationary. But that was baptism by fire on that deal. But we still got a ton more done that day than we would have if we were just been driving over there all the time.
It's a wonder if them old combines would even actually unload on the go, just from the sheer standpoint of horsepower and, them was always made to do like anything else. You get the end, you slow it down, engage it, and then speed it up, because it's all belts and shit.
Yeah,
they just weren't made to throw in
my
gear
dad
wide
was
open.
furious when we started unloading on the go with the cart. He's like, you're tear that combine all to pieces. I'm like, it's fine. Back then you still had the handle, so you could kind of pull it in gracefully. He's like, back in the day, you idled it up, pulled the auger in, you revved it up a little bit, not a lot. Dad never unloaded it wide open, and auger it off and go on. I'm like, I don't know if you know much about torque, but RPMs are in your favor. Like, rev it wide open, it's easier on it. I don't think so. Takes the stress off it. It's fine. They're made for that. It's fine.
Boy, these new ones, they just hammer in, just bang. There's no easing. It's on or off.
Yeah.
I did see, I can't think of who it was. Maybe it was Mike Mitchell or somebody I was watching on YouTube, got the new X9 Deer. And I would absolutely hate this feature. So on it, when you shut the unloading auger off, it runs an extra 5 seconds or whatever to clean the auger out. I know Lankota and them make them attachments you can put on there now to shut your grain tank off, and then you can clean your unloading auger out. And then
factory from Case, but go ahead.
Yeah, but nonetheless, this Deer, there's like no no, anytime you shut the unloading auger off, you hit the button, it's still going to run an extra 5 seconds to clean the auger out. And it's like, man, I would have grain spilled fucking everywhere if that was mine.
Yeah.
I would not like that feature at all, where it just automatically stays on. You know, I want to be able to shut it off regardless. You know?
Mine's not this way, but in the newer cases, you flip it off and it.
Is that right?
You shut the hopper augers off. And
Yeah,
just
to clean
the unloading auger out.
Yep.
But you're controlling it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't like that feature at all, as far as where it just stays on.
Yeah. It's amazing how big carts have got and how fast they unload and all that. And people are like, oh, you don't need it to unload that fast. If you want to keep it moving, you don't have time to be sitting over there very often.
I'd have to look. R760, I think it's around 4 to 4.5 bushels a second, roughly. I don't know. It's close to that. But yeah, like, you know, we're in 250 bushel corn and half-mile throughs. If you turn on the end and you got a big load on that combine, you're most of that half mile getting it unloaded because you got so much corn coming in while you're unloading.
While you're unloading it, yeah.
And that's with an 8-row head. I mean, I can't imagine with a 12-row or a 60. I mean,
back in the day when my brother was testing combines for Case, like, they were dabbling with some 12-row stuff back then or whatever on a 2388 or a 2366 or whatever. Well, 12-row with those, I mean, the corn's coming in as fast as it will unload it because they didn't unload that fast. So you're the whole way. I mean, it basically takes a quarter of a mile to unload a hopper. Well, the 12-row, it's coming in pretty fast. Like, the auger's on the whole day.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd believe it.
I mean, even on my 6-row, like, it's on a fair amount of the day. Like, if you're in half-mile throughs, you're going to dump twice going one way so you can make it back the other way.
Yeah.
So you can bust through and make a land to where you're on the outside.
I would like to try that today. You know, like John Deere's made a 12-row head for, I mean, shit, clear back in the 80s. You could get an 8820 with a 12-row head. I mean, nobody around here had them, but you could. I mean, they've made them that long. But could you imagine putting a 12-row on an 8820 today? You know, back then it was 120 bushel corn with a good crop. Could you imagine putting a 12-row on an 8820 and pulling a 250 bushel corn that's 22 or 3%? I mean,
you're going to be going pretty slow. You better drive a stake in the ground so you can see the combine move. Yeah.
Yep. And once again, it's going to take forever to unload that bad boy.
Which I know when Case was testing the CBX or whatever, which was a whole other subject, but I think they had a couple versions. One, I believe, had an auger on both sides, and one had an auger in the middle, so they could spin it clear around.
Yeah.
So you could dump off either side. Yeah. Both great, but you and I both know if there was an auger on both sides, some jackass farmer would tear the one up.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be wore out. We'll just use the other one.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
And then, they're both wore out. Oh, trade the combine. So now it's got two wore out augers. We never fixed either one of them.
Yep.
That's how that would go. But
I know a lot of people get wound up on that. I'm not dead set on having to unload off either side. I mean, I could see where it'd be handy, but I guess it's one of them deals I'm so accustomed to it being on the left side that...
Yeah, I look to the left like...
Same here.
It doesn't tear me up. Honestly, being in the center where you could spin it clear around would probably be the better way.
Yeah, truthfully it would.
But whatever, it don't matter.
And that's like the right side grain cart now, which to me they should have been on that side forever anyway, because I always like shit on the side that my controls are on, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, people talk about, oh, you're going to get into the combine auger and this and that. And, you know, because some people lower their grain cart auger. We don't. We always leave ours
Once
out.
the auger's up, it's up.
That's how we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of people always talk about, oh, that's a lot of stress on them hinges. But they go over center so far, it shouldn't be that. Unless you're driving like a fucking maniac and bouncing through washouts. I mean, or put it this way, we've ran ours for...
And every time you break it over, you lose grain.
Yeah.
You know.
We've ran ours for, I'm going to say, 12 years now, whatever it's been, and we've not had one single hinge problem. I mean,
that's the least of my concerns when it comes harvest time.
Yeah.
My rule is if the combine's auger's out, the cart better be underneath it. And once the auger's up on the cart, the auger's up on the cart. But I always pull the combine one back in.
Yeah, I don't leave the combine auger out.
Yeah.
There's times it seems like in good corn like this, all you're doing is swinging it in and out, but I still don't leave it out.
But my thing is, I'm like, it's not like the old times where you got to get out and kick it in. Like, if you can't push the button, like, how lazy are you? Like,
and it's not like a grain cart. You're not breaking it open and losing grain. You know, it's just...
Click, it folds back. Like, that's fine.
Exactly.
Like I said, I use it to signal the grain cart deal, but that's partially because my brother is 100% anti, we're not using radios. Like,
really?
Oh,
I couldn't go without him.
Oh, you want to piss him off? Get him on the radio.
Really?
I mean, he's not looking for people to bark orders on the radio. That's partially because in my childhood we had FM radios. Yeah. I enjoyed them. I liked them. My brother did not. And Dad would hand out instructions pretty regular on them in a firm tone. And to the point that eventually my brother would click her off. But yeah, he didn't like the radio. We're going to use hand signals, and just we know that. And he and I have a pretty good rhythm. We've always been in tune on that. We farmed with each other since we were, since I was old enough to walk. So he knows if my auger's out, his ass needs to be underneath it.
Yep.
And that's where it is, and we're good on that. We really don't need radios as far as that goes. But yeah, we broke a set out. It's been a year or two ago now, and that didn't last long for a variety of reasons, but it didn't last long.
Yeah. I'm not big on the hand signals. I got to communicate on the radio, which I don't talk on the radio just to be talking, but
My brother would never make it as a truck driver.
Is that right? Yeah.
No, he's not letting you in where the Huggy Bear's at. Like, the squelch is, he's done.
I do like the intermittent period there before we had radios, but cell phones were popular, where you had to call the guy in the graveyard, hey, could you slow it down a mile? You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
like, come on. I mean, this is the most useless fucking way to communicate I've ever seen in my
They're
life.
reaching for their phone. They're driving off. Yeah. But you're a big Nextel guy, so you could push to talk for a little
Back
bit.
then, we could.
Yeah, you could
that's
push
right.
to talk for a minute.
Yep. But I'm the type, if I'm running 4.5, that's where I want the cart. I'll move the combine.
Yeah.
Don't be, you can't see nothing in that cart. I'll load the cart. You just drive that speed.
You just drive. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I tell you, I hate to keep beating this dead horse, but grain handling in general is a unique concept, a unique idea. And, combines have gotten way bigger. Carts have got way bigger, but in our area, elevators really haven't changed.
No. And I get it if you're the independent guy that's literally a one-horse elevator that was built years ago. You're maybe going to be retired in a few years. I understand you're not going to dump $3 million in it. But
I get that.
But the big co-ops that are buying new elevators and revamping them with junk, it's like, what are you doing?
If you can't dump a truck every 3 minutes, in my mind, if you're building an elevator or you're expanding an elevator, redoing it, like, I got to think 20 to 30,000 bushel an hour is your goal.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Today, this day and age, absolutely.
And like some of the ones we've got around here, like one guy with a Lexion could bury him.
And we're talking elevators that are brand new built.
Brand new. Yeah. Recent purchases, recent redos, etc. I'm like, for rough numbers, we'll just say an average Lexion can do an easy 6,000 bushel an hour. They can't dump that.
Right.
And when I was a kid, elevators stayed open until 9, 10 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Now they close at 5 or 6.
Yep.
So they can catch up, allegedly. When the hell are you going to get any harvest done if you got to quit at 5 o'clock every day? So your bean cutting window is from 1 to 5? That doesn't work.
Yeah. They're
They're forcing you to build bins. And then if you build bins, well, you're skipping them. Might as well cut the middleman out.
Right.
We'll sell it direct to ADM.
There's a few of these elevators, like I say, that are fresh rebuilds, purchases, fresh add-ons. I mean, spent millions of dollars to do this, that are so inefficient, just like you said. But these places would have been better off, instead of building this big leg that's moving 600 bushel an hour into this 200,000 bushel bin. You'd have been better off to nixed all that, poured a pad of concrete, and just said, back out there with your hopper, crank them open, drive forward, we'll shove it in a pile with a payloader. It'd have been way quicker.
It'd have been faster. Yeah. So a buddy of mine built a new elevator, we'll call it 15 years ago. But they looked at it from the farmer standpoint and a trucker standpoint, not from an elevator standpoint. So I haven't been there. I've seen pictures of it, and I've talked to him about it several times. Super efficient, near as I can tell. There's 4 scales, which, in my opinion, if your elevator doesn't have 4 scales, you're not getting much done. Inbound grain should never be in the way of outbound grain. Those trucks should never cross paths. They're the hell out of their, That's the way it should be set up. You want 4 scales minimum, so none of that shit crosses streams. It's like Ghostbusters. Crosses streams, that's a bad deal. But nobody looks at it like that around here. And I haven't been to, there used to be an elevator, well, it's still there, around Champaign. It was called the Andersons. It's been sold out here recently, but from what I remember, and this has been 20 years since I've been there. And I'm like, there was pits out in the open. They weren't covered, this, that, and the other. You pulled onto those, you dumped, rolled everything wide open, you dumped it. It was good. If it piled up a little bit and couldn't take it fast enough and there was corn, that's fine. We'll sweep it up at the end of the day. You don't have to sweep that up between every load.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Right.
We'll get that at the end of the day. There's absolutely no reason in this day and age that you can't open both hoppers wide open as fast as it will fall out of the truck and drive off.
I agree.
That's the way it should be set up. If you can't do that, close the son of a bitch, rebuild it, and don't open again until you can.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I agree.
there is no reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Combines ain't getting smaller.
they're
Trucks
not
ain't getting smaller.
Most of the elevators around here really haven't increased their capacity that they can take since we had a 715.
I agree.
I mean, there is no reason for that. Your
The
pit should
stupid
hold
part is
2,000 bushel minimum.
Yeah. And the stupid part is they spent all this money building more bins when you should have been upgrading your leg or the pit or whatever. You know, the storage wasn't necessarily the problem because you're still piling on the ground anyway.
And if you have to load your outbound grain over top of the pit for your inbound grain, that might be the dumbest concept I've ever thought of. Like, I can't think of anything any stupider than that, other than maybe some shit that Brandon has done. Like, that is mind-boggling to me that you would load out over top of your pit. That's asinine. That you wouldn't even consider that.
Yeah.
No farmer would do that.
We haul into one elevator, which it ain't much of an elevator anymore. Got two pits, one for corn and one for beans. Great idea. But they put the bean pit right in front of the corn pit.
Yeah.
So if you got a corn truck dumping, I still can't get there because he's blocking my bean pit.
Exactly. Makes no
It's
sense.
like, who in the fuck thought this up? I mean, it just stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. If I can dump corn faster at my farm with a 10-inch auger than you can with your elevator, you need to call somebody.
Yeah, I have no reason to come to your elevator now. It's just making me inefficient. I'll just take it home.
Exactly. I'm like, nothing infuriates me more than waiting. Like today, yesterday, we're a day or two into harvest. Not very many people are running, and we're already backed up.
Yeah.
That is a stupid problem to have. Like, there's no reason for long lines. There's no reason when not many people are running, you should be able to turn and burn. Like, there's no reason
And
for it.
I'm not going to mention any names, but I've seen places around here that literally their company trucks will haul grain from the field into the elevator, dump it, and then go right around and load.
up and drive to a bigger terminal.
And it's like, what are you doing? Are you serious?
Yeah.
So now you've tied the scale up both ways, in and out, and then went and loaded, and then tied them up again, in and out.
Yeah.
And I
I can't wrap my head around it. Near as I can tell, there is so much money in having a grain elevator that you can't hardly run it piss poor enough to lose money.
I would agree. From what I see.
From what I see. I mean, I'm not intricately involved in it, but from what I see, like, you can make a lot of stupid moves and still make money, which makes no sense to me. In my mind, like, you're in the business of bushels in, bushels out, right?
To me.
So if that's your goal, you want to set it up to where you can take as many bushels in as you can get and bushels out. Like, at some point in time, I'll take a few cents less if I don't have to wait.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
You know, waiting costs me money, costs me time, and I'm not getting any younger. I want to get the shit done.
That's right.
You know, if the combine's moving, I want to keep it moving. I don't want to be sitting at the end of the field, having a snack, talking to little Debbie, waiting on the truck driver to get back because he should have been back 45 minutes ago, but we're stuck on some damn grain line because we got a 600 bushel an hour leg.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, you can't get any more acres of corn and soybeans in the area than what we currently have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is fence row to fence row. That is literally all you see. If you are not in the center of a town, it is corn and soybeans as far as you can see.
Yeah.
So, you know, these companies always want to talk about, oh, you know, we were so foresighted that we done this and, you know, we seen this coming, we done that. Well, you didn't see nothing on the elevator side because you spent $3 million for a new leg, a new pit, and a bin, and it takes fucking 15 minutes to dump a semi in it.
The most efficient elevator in our local area was built in 62.
Mm-hmm. One guy can run the whole thing.
One guy can run the whole thing. Doesn't need an iPad.
Nope.
Doesn't need a satellite link.
Nope. You literally pull on the scale. The pit sits right behind the scale, and if you got a dump trailer and do it right, you don't even have to move. You can get everything on the scale and dump it into the pit and never have to move your truck.
And you're gone.
The scale house
is fast. The pit's big and the leg is fast.
Yep. And the scale house is 3 feet from your truck. So he cracks your gate open while he's got your weight and all that, takes a sample. I mean, it's slick as fuck.
Bing, bang, boom, done.
Yep. And it was built in 62.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, by somebody that didn't ask somebody with a degree.
Yeah.
What's the most efficient way to move this corn over here? No, they just said, hey, we're going to move a shitload of corn, and this is how we're going to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's infuriating. Like, some of the elevators around here don't have, their pit doesn't hold any more than my drive-over pit
Yeah.
on the end of my auger.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
I'm like, this makes no sense. And my deal moves it faster.
We go to one that literally has no pit. It's a cross auger that you dump into that just cross augers it straight into the leg, which is the same way. It literally takes 20 minutes to dump one of our tandem
Yes.
trucks.
Yeah.
And that's why we built so much storage. It's like we can't
Yeah.
get nothing done sitting here.
Yeah.
And so the vast majority of our grain goes home and goes in a bin.
Yeah.
In and out, boom, you're done.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's times around here that the local elevators can get 2-hour lines easy because of their antiquated equipment.
Which is a stupid problem to have.
Yeah,
If your goal is to get bushels in and bushels out, that's a stupid problem to have.
I agree.
You know, it doesn't do you any good to buy a 12-row corn head if you're waiting on all that.
Yeah,
You know,
you just well have a 6-row that can keep moving at least. I mean, there's nothing more
but
infuriating.
even
than-
that backs them up. I mean, I got a 6
Oh,
row.
yeah.
I got backed up twice in the last 2 days.
Yep.
You know, and they're making some changes and so on, and they were having some growing pains. I get all that, and I'm not singling them out. I'm just saying in general, if you're sizing that shit, have some foresight. It's kind of like building a machine shed. Well, I could build one 14 foot tall, and I could get most of my shit in, but can I get all my shit in?
Yeah.
No. Make it 18 foot tall. Where I don't have to flip whopper hoppers down. I don't have to do any of this shit. I can just drive in. You know, I could dig a hole in the front of a 14-foot shed and get the shit in, and then I have to dig another hole to get it back out.
Well, I
That's a
remember
stupid problem to have.
when some of that shit changed hands. This one elevator had literally built it was a great big bin. I don't know if it was 200,000 bushel or whatever. It was big. And whoever the millwright was talked him into this, and I can't believe they even went along with it, that they set an auger up, and then it had a roof auger on the
Yeah.
bin. You remember that? And I'm like,
Yes.
if I'm paying this kind of
That
money,
was the fastest setup they ever had.
and I just,
That was faster than what they have today on that bin.
God,
Mind-boggling.
whoever signed off and said, you know what, that sounds like a pretty good idea. It's sitting right by our leg. We're not going to plumb the leg into it. Let's put a roof auger on it and set up a 13-inch auger, or whatever it was. I don't know, 10-inch, whatever.
13, I think. Yeah, that was the fastest setup they had. Yeah.
Jesus.
I don't understand it.
I don't care if you got to dig your pit 20 foot deep. It don't matter.
Build the bin underground so I can
Yeah.
just drive over the top and dump it in the top, and you can figure out how to get it out with your 8-inch auger later. Dig a big-ass hole.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do. And everybody acts like, well, digging a big pit doesn't do you any good. Well, it does some good. Any pit under 1,200 bushel, in my opinion, is a waste of time.
I agree.
You got to be able to fit a whole hopper bottom in there. No questions asked, because there's a little bit of time for one guy gets off, the next guy gets on, where that slow-ass conveyor, auger, whatever shitbox setup you've got has a little time to catch up. But at least have it set up to where you can dump both hoppers at once, full bore, and go on. At least one guy's happy for the day.
Yeah,
The first guy.
right.
I don't understand. What pisses me off about it is you go to a good-sized farmer setup, and he can take grain at X rate. And then you go to the elevator, and it's X minus 50%. You're trying to buy from 100 guys, and you can take grain slower than the one farmer who built his own setup with his own money that's not buying any grain, that's just trying to keep his shit moving.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and they're similar setup as far as sizes. You
Yeah.
know, they can each hold 500,000 bushel, whatever.
Whatever it is, million bushel, whatever it is.
But yeah, you can definitely tell the guy who is thinking of efficiency because it's my money on the line, let's keep it moving, versus the guy in the office that says, well, you know, this pit here was,
Yeah, we'll
you know.
they'll just wait. We'll get the grain eventually. Yeah. Great plan.
like you say, they think they will until everybody's like, well, I'm tired of sitting in line, so I'm just going to build my own bin. Then guess
Yeah.
what? Now you don't get any of it because I'm just going to take it direct.
Remember, it's been sadly, it's probably been 20 years ago now, but there was a big marketing campaign for a while. Country elevators, use them or lose them. Well, how about they make an upgrade?
Yeah.
How about they buy some new shit once in a while? You know, farmers were buying combines, they're buying semis, auger carts, etc. You know, like not everybody's pulling in a little giant with a 5,000 Ford anymore. You know, we're trying to get some shit done. You know, and have a way to get rid of it. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah. And truthfully, which it's hard to do nowadays because the railroads are gone, but a good elevator is on the railroad. I mean, one of the bigger ones that we haul into, and then there's none of this jack, we're sitting here full. They're getting 100 train cars and of a night, they're loading out 400,000 or 500,000 bushel or whatever it is. I mean, a bunch.
And the bitch with the train thing is, and I get it, like, okay, you order a train, well, it might be here today, might be here 35 days from now, so you have to keep enough grain on hand to fill it. I get that. And the biggest problem with most of those elevators that are on the rail is they don't have enough land.
Yeah.
Because they're in the middle of town, because that's where the rail went through, and town built up around them, and they didn't get anything else bought because they didn't need it at the time. Well, now they need it to expand this, that, and the other. Well, now they're boxed in, but they can't move because they're on the rail, and they can't get anything else on the rail bought outside of town, and it always ends up being a cluster. But, yeah, the railroad's got so independent of all that shit that you got to have a rail spur where you can swing 100 cars around on your own ground, and they don't have the room for it,
Yep. I know the big ones that we go to with rail, boy, they don't mess around. Big pits, big legs, and I don't know that I've ever had them turn you down because they're full. I mean, they always seem to roll shit right in and right out. So
yeah, we're in a good area for a lot of reasons. Grain handling is not necessarily one of them.
No, it's
like
not.
If you get outside of this area, the grain handling capacity goes up tremendously.
And the funny part is, like when you go north, let's just say an hour north, huge elevators in and out, but it's also flipped on the co-ops. They come down here and see all this equipment and nice shit that our co-ops got. They're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They're like, ours has one Terragator and a fucking spray coop.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right about that. Like their elevators, like a buddy of mine, about an hour and a half north of here, it got a pretty kick-ass grain setup, or at least it was when it was built. He's like, I don't even use it. Like, and from his front steps, like you can see a Mongo elevator. He's like, they can take anything I can want to drag in there in record time. It's like, why would I want to clean my own bins out when I can dump it over there super fast, et cetera, et cetera. But by the same token, like you say, he comes down here and sees, our local co-ops with, 7 high clear machines. And he's like, are they just working on those there? Or why do they have 7 of them? Like every branch has 7 of them. He's like, huh?
Yeah.
Like you said, our branch has got a Terragator and a spray coop and a pickup truck and a nurse trank that, they pull around with a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
And that's what we got. I'm like, well, so we're blessed in one regard, a little behind times on the other, but it'll all come together at some point, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. And I mean, man, there has been a bunch of storage built around here since I was a kid. I mean, lots of on-farm storage.
Yeah. I mean, even the elevators up their storage capacity, they just can't unload it any faster.
Yeah, they just can't take it
any faster than they used to be able to.
We've talked about in the past, too, the little bitty farmer elevators that like are at people's houses that were elevators when you and I were kids, or maybe they'd closed by then, but in the in the 70s, they were prime elevators.
Yeah.
And now they're just closed for personal use. It's like you could literally fill that entire elevator in about 2 afternoons.
Yeah.
And I mean, just
that ain't no
cracks me up that was an elevator back in the day.
Yeah. But it didn't come in as fast, and
right.
They had a few trucks and they'd get it hauled out, and harvest was a 3-month deal, not a 1-month deal. And
yep.
Yeah, it is crazy how times have changed on that. Like I said, they always stayed open late back then.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah, not so much anymore.
No, that's for sure. They
have changed in that regard.
In fact, most elevators that we go to now, I mean, the hours are posted that morning, closing at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
I think the latest are 7 on any of them that we go to.
Yeah, that's why we always save our bins. Like, we'll just dump in those after the elevator closes and go on. Yeah, if you want to get anything done.
Yeah. But, man, there was a few of them that was built around here that it's just like, what in the hell was anybody thinking when they built this? I mean,
we're running green at a 45-degree angle with no pit.
Yeah. Or the ones that had the above ground, you literally had to drive up a 10-foot incline.
The new one they just built, you got to drive up into it.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. Yep. Like it's 1904. Yep.
I mean, let's just put the truck hoist back in and just start bringing her in by the pickup load. I mean.
Yeah. Oh, they could keep up with that. Yeah. Boggles my feeble little brain, but whatever. Yeah. Yeah, everything's getting faster, but some things aren't, I guess. You get to thinking bushel per hour wise on what farmers can do now versus what they could do when we were kids. It's astronomical.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
From a combine standpoint,
yeah.
We don't even cut a fat hog in the ass on that. Like, I'm not looking for, rock stars and unicorns. Like,
Yeah.
I just need a nice, steady go at it. But
Well, shit. When I was a kid, a 12-row corn head was absolutely unheard of. I mean, nobody, and I don't care how much you farm back then, even if you farmed 3,000 acres in the 80s, you didn't have a 12-row corn head. I mean,
No,
that
nobody
was
ran there.
unheard of. And now it's like I'm the only one who don't have one.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's for certain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that it comes in as fast as it does. I mean, it don't take long at all.
No, it does not.
But if you stop and think about that, I think about that a lot of times going through the field in our combine, combine holds 450 bushel, 8-row head, about 4.6 mile an hour, unloading on the go. And I just sit there and think, if you went back 30 years, had a 6620 with a 6-row, you're going to be, even though the yield is less, you're still going to be running, I don't know, 2.8, 3 mile an hour, whatever it is. And I mean, just fighting from one end of the field to the other. I mean, and them things.
Well, just look around here. There's a ton of 5,000 bushel bins, right? There's a ton of them around here. You didn't fill that in a day back then.
Oh God, no! Wouldn't even think about it.
Now it's a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
If you're kind of screwing around.
Yeah, Yeah, we picked 10,000 bushel today. No, actually, hell, it was more than that. Well, no, it's probably right at 10 today. We got started good about noon because I had some trouble or some technical difficulties on the scale, and we were done. Had the combine in the shed by 3:30.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And that would have been what? Damn near a week's worth of work when we were kids. I mean,
yeah, I imagine it'd have been
with a 306 cylinder and a 250 bushel easy trail hauling to town, that'd have been a week's worth of work.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, let's just take a 1460 International Combine. What'd that hold? 200 bushel full?
you're being generous, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that son of a bitch wouldn't go anywhere today. I mean,
let's just say you're unloading on the go all the time, which they weren't back then. But I mean, yeah, you're not filling a bin that fast. Like 1,000 bushel an hour would have been cutting a fat hog in the ass back then.
Yep.
Like I said, Lexian will do 6 like on its day off.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty easily. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody run a 15-foot grain table
Yeah.
back then. A few guys had 20s, 25s. You was real big.
Well, you were those assholes that couldn't get around.
Yeah, that's right.
That dipshit's taking his head off all
Yeah.
the time.
And once again, now if you ain't got a 40-footer, it's like, you ain't got nothing.
Yeah, you're yesterday's news.
I don't know hardly anybody other than a weekend farmer that runs a 25.
Not very many.
Everybody's 30 minimum. Most, I'd say 35 is probably the most popular.
Yeah.
And a few
around
40s.
Here, around here, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, times have changed drastically on that regard.
Yes, it has.
Planters the same way.
Yep.
I remember guys in an 8-row planter. It's like, wow, they got an 8-row.
We were just talking the other day, around here, and I mean, this was when I was 16 years old. Could you imagine pulling into a square 80 on a 1066 with a 6-row planter? I mean,
It'd be a full day's work. Well, that's like I told you after that tractor drive. Like, I love that old shit. I have no desire to spend all day on that. You want to start a farm program, get rid of all this big shit, and you got to start farming with old shit. There won't be anybody farming 20,000 acres with that shit.
Yeah, I guarantee you.
You can't find enough guys willing to sit in a Soundguard cab.
No.
As great as it allegedly may be, that's going to farm 20,000 acres with a 2-wheel drive Soundguard.
Nope, not going to happen.
No. Nope. The suicide rate will go through the roof.
Yeah, you think it's bad now?
Yeah. There's no trees to hang yourself from anymore because we cut them all down. But They'll be building A-frames on the end of the field.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that shit.
Yeah, those tractor drives, they're fun, but I'm just like you. If you
I
told
like
me
that shit, but I'm not sitting on it all day.
Nope, it's one thing you go out and sit on it for 3-4 hours that afternoon, have fun with your buddies, but to know that you're going to go out there for a month,
Yeah,
for 10 to 12 hours a day and eat dirt all day long.
one of our good friends' moms, she got widowed way too young, but used to tell us more than once. I know you were there for this. Every 40 acres was a week.
Yep.
In the
It
spring.
was a week. Spring plowed it.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to disc it down three times.
Just beat it to death.
Harrogate
beat
it.
it back into submission. You know.
Well, I mean, hell, if you pull into a square 40 back then with a 2-3 bottom plow
yeah.
with one tractor, you're going to be there a while.
Yeah, go be there.
I mean, that's going to eat up 2 to 3 days easy.
Yeah, nobody has to come look for you. They know where you're going to be.
Exactly.
You're going to be right there.
Yeah.
Beat it down with a disc, get a Harrigator,
Yep.
because they didn't really have field cultivators for the most part. Beat it down with a Harrigator or field cultivator, then Harrogate it. You know, you were going to be there for a while, beating the shit out of it. Yeah. I don't miss those days.
I don't either. Hell, it's like I was telling them guys that day that tractor drive, even like my old 4010, as cool as I personally think that tractor sounds, and that's exactly the way I remember it as a kid. After about an hour into that, it's like, God damn, this thing's loud. And it's not loud, but to me, it's like, it's just something about the tone that it has. It hurts your ears. It's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Don't want to look like a giant pussy on the tractor drive. I have to put in earplugs, but I was about ready to.
Yeah, I'm with you. Me and a buddy of mine were just talking about that last night. One of you and I's mutual friends had a international semi with an 855 in it with a single straight pipe. And you could hear that. So if I started that at my house, you could hear it here like it was just idling in your driveway. Good Lord, was that loud. And that was cool for about 5 miles.
Yeah.
Shift it up, jake it down. I'm good. I don't need all day in this thing. Like, I love straight pipes. I dearly do. You give me a set of glass packs to this day, I'll cackle those things all day long. But I am not looking to listen to a loud ass straight pipe for 9 hours straight. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know why we thought that was so cool back then. I guess we didn't know any better.
I suppose.
And same way with the loud trucks and everything. That shit don't do nothing for me anymore.
I still like loud stuff, depending on what it is. If I hear one more loud ass Dodge coming, so like with a giant fart can on the end of the pipe, I'm like, nobody thinks you've got 8-inch exhaust all the way down, but like, you don't need to buy the chrome tip. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, to me, those sound horrible, too.
Yes.
The rumble that they got. To me, the Cummins motor sounded best with just the 3-inch straight pipe
just
back.
the way it should be, yeah.
Sounded just like a 2188 combine. Just had a nice purr to it and a little bit of a whistle. But, God, they put these giant pipes. It just sounds like dog shit.
Sounds like Bigfoot falling into a very loud trash can.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. And you can always pick the 7.3 guys out. Like, they got a unique sound of their own, too. It's not as annoying as the Cummins sound.
Right.
And I'm a Cummins guy. Well, not in a Dodge, but in general, I don't mind Cummins stuff. But, yeah, those things annoy the shit out of me. But I love a good 1466. I love my 1468. Straights on either one of those, that'll wear me down fast these days. I still like to hear them from a distance, hear them once in a while, but...
Yep, you just drive on by. I'll gladly listen to it as you go.
There is nothing prettier in the world than a 4586 International 4-wheel drive. If you can keep one running long enough to hear it, those sound beautiful. I don't want to run it again, though. I remember when we had one of those. I was coming back to the farm, and I got to the farm, and my brother was standing outside with a cold beer for me. I'm like, damn, that's a pretty good brother there. I'm like, how the hell did you know I was getting close? Like, how long you been standing out here? He's like, oh, I heard when you left the field. I was 5.5 miles from him. He's like, I heard he's like, I could faintly hear you working the field. He's like, I could hear you take off. I heard you get to every intersection, slow down, look for cars, kick it back up. He's like, I was just counting the miles. I could hear you every time. He's like, when you got within a mile, I'm like, oh, he's getting pretty close. I went and got you a cold beer. I'm like, no, okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I don't need to hear that shit anymore.
No way.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, like you say with the semis, too, that's... God, just could you imagine sitting in a semi for 8 hours with that damn pipe right by your ear like that? No, thanks.
We did that one. We had an L10 Cummins, and that thing was an egg-sucking piece of shit from a power standpoint, but it rode way nicer than the truck we had before, so I put up with it, but for a little bit. But Dad straight piped that for one trip. Yeah, that was no good. So then we put a muffler on. They cut the baffles out of them. We made one trip with that. And then we said, to hell with that. We put a full, 6-foot muffler on or whatever. That was miserable. Like, we got to that pole. We were both hoarse as shit. We've been trying to talk all the way up there. It was one of the farthest poles we went to back in those days. It's like 2.5 hours north there, up around Kankakee, Peatone. By the time we got there, we looked like we'd been beat to death. Neither one of us could talk. We were hoarse as shit. We couldn't talk the rest of the day.
You're just ready to go home.
Our horses were wore out. I looked at him. He looked at me and was like, I think we ought to put a muffler on this. I'm like, yeah, I think we should. Yeah, I think we're done. It's no wonder he can't hear shit. Yeah, between farm tractors and semis and loud cars and trucks back then, shit.
And that's what still kills me to this day with the Gleaner Combine. And this is no shit. I will lay my hand on the Bible and swear to this. Got a neighbor that's got an S77 or whatever, and we farm right next to each other. And I was picking corn, he was picking corn, and I'm going to guess there was a good 36 rows between us, probably, between a few of the ends that I'd picked and a few and we met each other coming through the field. And our combine cabs are quiet as hell in them deer. I mean, they really are. You can't hear the motor, nothing. And I could hear that fucking Gleaner clear inside the deer, and he was, clear over that. It's like, what in the fuck? Yeah. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well, that's how you know they're doing good. Those Gleaner guys just judge off the rumble.
Yep, that's right. Yeah,
they can tell by the rumble in their ass. They know how the corn's doing.
It kills me how they are so hung up on, like, it's the most revolutionary thing ever that we ain't got no turret auger. That's the most efficient way to unload grain. Just straight up this fucking.
They also want to keep telling you that's a rotor. That is not a rotor. It's in there sideways. That's a cylinder. It even says cylinder adjust. That is not a rotor.
Exactly.
We're using the whole rotor. You're not using a rotor at all, let alone the whole thing.
Exactly.
Fucking grain has to get a road map when it comes in the feeder house chain to know which way it should exit. Stage left. No.
I still don't know how they get any grain through the feeder house of them things. They are literally 2 feet wide.
And 4 miles long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just baffles me.
Yeah. But if you get like 7 of those feeder house chains and weld them together, hell of a driveway drag.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Super long.
Yeah.
Plenty of steel there.
Remember when we was looking at Louisville at the farm show, every other combine on the market, like your side adjust sibs and all that, you can do it in the cab or on the side of the machine. Remember, everybody else's is the same side of the combine you get in. It's right down there by the back tire. Not Gleaners, clear on the other side of the combine.
On the other side. Take a walk around, make sure it's not on fire.
Yeah, that's right.
Head over here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just cannot get on board with it. I can't.
My dad grew up with Gleaners, and then he discovered red combines. He's like, I just thought it was normal to work on a combine until noon, 1 o'clock every day, and then start harvesting. He's like, turns out if you buy a real combine, like, you can start in the morning. Yep. They'd never farmed in the morning.
And the funny part is it is, because when we were kids or even prior to that, there was a lot of Gleaner combines in this area. There really was. And every single guy has that same story. Mm-hmm. And it don't matter if they went from the Gleaner to a Deere or a Redmond or a New or whatever.
Yeah.
Every single one of them says, I worked on that piece of shit from the time I got it to the time I got rid of it.
You were an expert at changing bearings. I changed this bearing today. I'm going to change it tomorrow. I'm going to change it the day after and the day after that. Like, you talk to anybody, like, I got a buddy of mine, he's a few years older than us, but he's like, by the time I was 15, he's like, hell, I could change any bearing on that combine in record time. He's like, hell, you got a lot of practice. He's like, that was my job. I rode with Grandpa, and I changed the bearings. Yeah. That's what I did. I changed bearings all day long. Yeah. I'm like,
and them guys still talk about that to this day on the new ones. All them bearings interchange from one end to the other combine. It's like, well, no shit, because
they're all too small, and
yeah.
Those are the same guys that like change rolling basket bearings on a Conskilly.
Oh, for sure. Yep. And nothing like going from a 30-foot auger head to a 25-foot draper.
Yeah. Well, that pulls so hard, Tony. You gotta do what you gotta do. World's largest collection of bevel gears. But there's no reason to make fun of the same 5 guys that are buying those still.
That's
Tony.
true. We got to lay off.
We got to move on. We can't keep kicking them. You poor bastards.
Yeah.
But just do yourself a favor. Drive across town. Maybe look at something else. Just take a peek. Think about it.
Yep. You'll never, ever tell them any different.
No.
Ever.
No. No, probably not.
No.
Not. In their defense, the other option was a Massey. Nobody wants that.
That's one combine. I have not been in the cab of a Massey since an 860 is probably the last Massey cab that I've stepped foot in.
We can't get in one now, so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Idea so good they had to get rid of it. So. Problem solved.
Yeah.
I tell you, the combine I would like to run. I would like to run a Fendt
I would too.
just for a day, just to see.
I do know, and I don't know, do you ever watch Mike Mitchell on YouTube?
Yeah, here and there.
So, they traded all their fence for deer, and he made the comment, and he wasn't necessarily knocking Fendt, but he said they're just not built heavy enough. And he couldn't believe this year when they went to the field, and he wasn't plugging for deer. He was just saying that he couldn't believe how much faster harvest went, because he said, I think from the day we started harvest to the day we ended, every combine was in the field at all times. He said them Fendts, it was a given. You always had one of them broke down. Always.
Really?
And he was just pointing out different stuff that he didn't think was made heavy enough. The design's good, and he thinks the potential's there.
Yeah,
but you just got
to refine it.
Yeah, you just got to build on what you got.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I don't know it.
The other thing I've never ran in the field is a Kloss. I'd like to.
I haven't.
I'd like to spend a day in there.
Actually, no. When I used to work for another farm around here, we demoed I think that was a 575, and that was back in 2003 or whenever that was.
Yeah.
And which that wasn't the biggest. I think they made a 575, 85, and 95. I think that was a class 7 if I remember right.
I can't argue with you. I don't know.
And we run a 40-foot auger head on it. I mean, it was a bean-eating son of a bitch, but other than that, I can't.
The funny part about, you were talking about the twin rotor thing earlier. I don't know the sales numbers, so I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, but I think Kloss has a model now that is a single rotor that I'm going to tell you is quite possibly their most popular model.
Really?
Yeah. So they've kind of went the other way.
I wonder why.
Selling a lot of those. You don't need 2 rotors. One's good.
Yeah.
One done right's fine.
Makes sense.
Twice as much shit I don't really need, but whatever. I'm not a New Holland guy. So I'm not looking for belts. I'll just take my axial flow.
Do you think they'll ever dump the New Holland combine? I mean, now that that's all kind of one blanket. I mean, man, they can't sell very many. I mean, or I guess speaking from our area
is not New Holland strong
at all.
Not New Holland strong by any stretch.
I mean, I only know of one.
Honestly, that is probably, well, I would say in our immediate area, New Holland is stronger than Fendt or Kloss. And by immediate area, I'm talking 5-mile circle from your house.
Yeah, right.
But after that, it would probably go Kloss, Fendt. I would say probably. There are not very many New Hollands around here.
No.
If you get 20 miles from here, New Holland would for sure be the least popular.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because you would grab more Kloss guys.
Yeah.
A couple of Fendt guys.
Yep.
I mean, our immediate area would probably go green, red, probably Gleaner.
Yeah, probably Gleaner. I mean, I can name.
Or if we're talking a 5-mile circle.
Yeah, we're talking the community we live in.
Yeah, if we're talking our school district.
Yeah.
It would be green, red.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can
Gray.
name probably 5 or 6, newer Gleaner. I'm not talking old L2s and shit. I'm talking, newer Gleaner combines.
We're talking sideways cylinder machines.
Yeah, R62s and up, or 42s, whatever.
There's not a lot of S-series stuff, but yeah, it would probably be green, red, silver.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah, I'd say.
I would say. Then probably yellow if we're talking our school district.
Yeah.
If we're using that as our map.
And there was actually even more New Hollands when we were kids.
There was a lot of New Hollands when we were kids.
Yeah. In fact, you guys
had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not proud of it. But it was better than our 715. I mean, but our 715 was gas and, mechanical drive. So, and completely wore out when we got rid of it. So the New Holland was a step up, but the 1460 was light years in front of the New Holland. But hey, whatever. Teach their own.
Yeah.
But I would like to run a Lexion for a while.
Yeah, it's just been too long. I mean, it's been pushing 20 years since I've been in one, and God only knows what they've changed since. And back then, we was comparing that. We run it side by side on probably a 9750 or 60 deer, whatever would have been a year or two old at the time. Probably a 9760 by then. And it would run circles around that thing cutting beans. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't run it in corn.
I think it's even more of an animal in corn.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
I have several customers, several friends that run Colossus / Lexions, whatever we're calling them today. I don't know many that would go back.
Really?
Yeah. Occasionally you'll get one that goes green if they go anything because they're green on the rest of their farm. So it usually comes up to some multi-unit deal. Like we want to trade 4-wheel drives, we want to trade 8Rs, we want to trade planters. Well, shit, it's damn near free to trade combines, allegedly. So we're going to go ahead and swap this off. And usually those guys bounce, though. If you watch it long enough, they'll Lexion for a while, they'll deer for a while. They miss their Lexion, they'll go back. They'll bounce on that. There'll always be green tractors, but they'll bounce on combines, depending on the deal. Because let's face it, there's bounties on that shit. Like,
Oh, for sure.
it's like DirecTV and you know, what the hell's the other one? Dish Network. They always give you a better deal if you're on the other side of the fence, you know. So they'll bounce back and forth. But I think the Colossus is a pretty good machine, and I think they're making a pretty good stronghold and push here. Honestly, their probably biggest detriment was brand marketing, in my opinion.
Probably, yeah.
What I don't even know how to word this. There's a lot of confusion based on the color of their machine, the cat logo for a while. I've taken at least 2 pretty good ass chewings, which literally had absolutely nothing to do with me, from guys with Lexions who were super pissed they couldn't buy parts at their Massey dealer for their Lexion combine. And I had to politely explain to both of them, like, you do realize that that's not the same company, right? Well, yeah, but they're this and they're that. I'm like, I can't go to the Chevy dealer and buy parts for my Ford. Like, I'm not mad about that. Like, I knew that going into it. But like, there was a little cross-pollination there. Like, they didn't catch on. They didn't get it. Like, I don't understand why they were that naive about it. Like, you're not mad that you can't go to your red dealer and buy parts for your John Deere combine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And coincidentally, you can buy like chain links and that type of stuff. If these guys are like super mad that they couldn't buy hard, big parts for them, and I assume we're getting past that now. And I honestly think it was a good move on Colossus' part to go green, to change the color, get away from the cat yellow. Let's just ditch that altogether. Let's eliminate the confusion. Let's kill the Challenger brand. Let's go with what we are.
Yeah.
And let the chips fall where they may.
Yep. Yeah, because back in the day, I mean, Cat never had a friggin' thing to do with that combine, did they? Other than a name on the side, maybe a Cat motor in it or something.
They used Cat Dealer Network, and I think they had Cat engines in them for a while.
But as far as that, I mean, they didn't design it. They didn't. I mean, that was a Lexion.
Yeah, it was a Closs.
Yeah, Closs, and of course, you get that. That screws it up too, you know, because you had Cat Challenger tractors, and then you had Challenger combines, and then you had this Closs
Then it
Lexion.
gets tied into Massey. Next thing you know, you got a yellow Gleaner. You got a yellow Massey. Like,
Yeah, and
we
you
don't know what the hell we're doing.
Yeah, nobody knows what to call it. You know, is it a Closs? Is it a Lexion? You know, what do we got here?
We tried to make Challenger a brand, even though the you and me of the world, we associated Challenger as a 2-track tractor that was this.
And had Cat written on the side. Cat Challenger. That's what
It was
everybody
a Cat
talks.
Challenger.
Yeah.
So you throw a combine out there that's a yellow Massey and put Challenger on the side of it. You know what it is. I know what it is. But the average Joe Blow's like, the hell? I don't understand what this is. And it's hard to brand management. And I'll go to my grave saying this. Deere is a master of brand management
Oh, for sure.
to the 10th power. Like it's Nike, even though they screwed the pooch with the Kaepernick deal. But it's like there's a few brands that are just what they are. You know,
It sells itself. You know what I
Coke,
mean?
Nike, Deere, like they've got brand management down to a T. I mean, I know guys that literally I think would slit their firstborn son's throat over admitting that John Deere had faults.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not even being mean about it. Like I honestly believe, like I know people that you could make a comment about their wife and they would take it in stride. But if you'd said something negative about John Deere, like they'll double their fist. They're ready to go. Like they're going to throw you down in the dirt. They're ready to knock down, drag it out over Mother Deere. I'm like, you do realize that like you're paying them. They're not paying you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I admire their brand loyalty. Like Peterbilt, I'll throw them in there. Like they have great brand loyalty. They have great brand management. I'm not a Peterbilt guy. Like when it comes to cool shit that's like uber popular when it comes to brands, like I'm a Snap-on guy to the 10th power. I appreciate other stuff. I love my Cornwell stuff. I've got some Matco stuff. I got a little bit of Mac stuff. Like I like all that, but I'm a Snap-on guy at the end of the day on some of that. But like not to the point that I'm ready to knock you out if you tell me your Craftsman ratchet suits your needs. I don't give a shit. We're not fighting over it.
Right.
But there's guys that literally you said, hey, I'm going to whip your wife's ass right now in front of a crowd, or you admit John Deere has a fault on whatever piece this is. Go ahead and hit her. Well, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like those guys are like diehard about that. That I'm a little bit like.
And Gleaner even has the same following, but it was just never popular.
But it's only those 5 guys.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's those 5 guys, and you're not worried about taking an ass kicking from them because they're spread far and wide.
Right.
But yeah, I don't fully understand like how it got to the point that we're literally willing to take a bullet for a guy whose own family didn't like him, aka John Deere. But that's where they're at. Like they are die hard. And I'm not trying to stir shit here or whatever, get all wound up and send me a bunch of nasty gram comments, but you guys know who you are and you know it's true. Like I'm a diehard red guy. But a buddy of mine was just giving me a hard time about this. He's like, for a diehard red guy, you talk a lot of shit on red equipment. I'm like, I can admit their faults. Like, yeah, it suits my needs. I'm a diehard red guy, but I can make fun of the shit that they've messed up. It doesn't bother me. But like,
yeah, Deere, you don't dare.
You don't dare do that.
No.
But that's like, that's...
And it's sort of, and this is going to sound real shitty, and I don't mean it this way, but, Rush Limbaugh always said you can pick out a Democrat because they answer a question with a question.
Yeah.
And Deere's the same way. If you say, well, Deere copied, such and such here, then they're going to come right back with an insult of whatever else, or they'll completely overlook that they copied that. Well, they was the first one to have a rotary combine clear back in the 50s, or what, you know what I mean?
Even though they never released it.
Yeah, it's something totally irrelevant. They can't just hang their head and say, well, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you're right. But we did this. No, they never go at it from that avenue.
The quad track, okay? Nobody had a quad track in the 50s.
Yeah.
The day the patent come off the IH quad track, John Deere fucking built one.
Well, it's a 4-track, Tony. Totally different.
Okay, yeah.
It's 4 instead of quad.
Okay, yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I honestly think, this is terrible to say, but I honestly think if you lined farmers up in a line and said, hey, when you get to the front of the line, you have to make 2 choices. You can meet one of 2 people, but only one. Jesus is on the right. John Deere's on the left. Like, I think you're splitting them 50-50.
Oh, I think so.
I think part of them like, shit, I went to church yesterday.
Yeah, I'm good.
I want to talk to John Deere.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know more about this plow that he didn't really invent.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to him. I'm like, and hats off to them for their great brand management because they have done a phenomenal job. I'm not going to lie. I'm jealous. Like,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
They have done a great job. It is easy to be a John Deere guy.
It is.
It's easy. It's cool. It's fun. You can buy a hat at the mall.
You could walk into Times Square right now and say the word John Deere,
and somebody knows what you're talking about.
But if you could say 1466 International, whatever, and they ain't gonna have a fucking clue. With
you
that.
could say Case IH and be like, never heard of it.
Yep.
But there's some ass bag in Central Park mowing with a John Deere lawnmower, probably.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah,
but they've knocked it out of the park on that. I mean,
they're great at it. My hat's off to them for it. I love them for it from that standpoint. I love the fact that they're, one of the last American companies we've still got. And I'm not talking agriculture. I'm talking everything we've got. Like,
I'll bet you
we're down
$100.
to like 10.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. $100 says you and I could get in the truck right now and drive to our local Walmart, and we could find something in that store that says John Deere,
Yes.
and you will find nothing that says New Holland or Case IH on it. I don't care if it's a baby bib.
You're damn sure not finding anything that says Gleaner.
No, the toy aisle, anywhere, but you
Mm-hmm.
will find something in that store. It might be a calendar, it might be something, but you will find
You'll
something.
find something that says John Deere.
promise.
That's a fact. And hats off to them for that. I will give them 100% kudos for that. Their brand management is spot on perfection. Like, they've done a great job with it.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, that probably means more than the product.
I think it does. At the end of the day, it pays off. I mean,
It pays off in product sales.
Yeah.
Your product doesn't necessarily, and I'm not pop shotting them for their product not necessarily being the best. In some avenues, like they've got some features this, that, and the other. I'm not taking a shot at them on that. But if you manage your brand correctly, product's somewhat inconsequential.
right. I agree.
Because once people get so loyal and so,
Look at a Harley Davidson.
yeah,
You got your Harley guys, and I mean,
those guys wouldn't ride a Honda if you dropped the son of a bitch off full of fuel,
Yep.
ready to go, and said, "Hey, I'll give you a 1,000,000-mile warranty on this Honda." They wouldn't ride it from my house to
and they
your
might
house.
have to work on their Harley 3 times in the next 20
they would
miles.
push their Harley
Yep.
from your house to my house before they would ride that Honda.
Yep, but it's the same thing. And
And that's probably the only company that rivals Deere in brand loyalty.
yeah. Have you ever walked into a bar, seen a big old guy with long hair and tattoos with a Honda shirt on?
No,
What's he got on?
That's a fact. He's got a Harley shirt on.
Yeah, exactly.
From some place. I mean, it is a cult following on them just buying Harley shirts.
It is.
From every town
Yep.
they go to.
Yep.
Do you know anybody? And I will challenge you on this. Do you know anybody with a Honda shirt that has a destination on it? A town.
Right, exactly.
I know a few people that have Honda shirts and they just say Honda.
Yeah.
You know,
And that might have been
whatever.
from a four-wheeler.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the town.
No.
You're not driving from town to town to a
Right.
Honda dealership. You know why? Because you can drive past the summit just because they're still running.
Exactly.
You don't have to stop in every town. But every time you're on a Harley, you're going to stop in every
Yep.
town. And while you're there, you might as well buy a shirt.
Yep.
But yeah,
I mean, has any of your buddies ever called you and been like, man, did you see the fight at the bar last night? We was up there, a bunch of Honda guys come in and kick the shit out of it. No.
there was 2 Suzuki guys. Shit got out of hand. No, you never hear that. It's like, well, they weren't mad because their shit's just running, so they just
Exactly.
drove off. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. If there's one brand that could rival Deere, it would be Harley.
Oh, yeah.
Chevy guys, Ford guys, Dodge
It
guys, like
bounces
they
back
can
and forth.
bounce around a little bit, and depending on the engine combination, like they can kind of intermingle. Like
Yeah.
you had a Dodge, you had a Duramax, you know, those guys can kind of cross pollinate here and there. If you're a Harley guy, you're a Harley
Yep.
guy
Forever.
You know that forever.
Yeah, it's like the drug cartel. Once you're in.
once you're in, there ain't no getting out. You know, you're pushing that sumbitch wherever you got to push it.
Yep.
You know, and Deere guys they're trying to get there. They're real close. Honestly, if Deere would release a leather cut of some fashion,
Yeah.
they could probably overtake
I
them.
mean, we need to
If they
get.
start putting locations on them, it should say
It should.
John Deere, Shelbyville, Illinois.
Yeah.
Like they're missing their calling
That's
there.
right.
So you Deere guys, if you're out there, you start getting your locations on that, you can triple your T-shirt sales. All you guys got to do is start putting locations on there. Guys will drive around on Saturdays and buy your damn
will.
T-shirts with a different location on it. I think we just made John Deere $1 million, and
think
I'm
we
a little
did too.
pissed off. I helped their bottom line.
Yep. And now if we can just get Harley to drop some sort of a John Deere motor into a bike,
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, you have got it cornered.
Those guys will never get out of the driveway.
No.
They'll be so hard they can't ride.
Yep.
Excuse me, ma'am. I can't leave today.
Yep.
I'm just going to be here by myself, just revving
Yeah.
it up and idling it down. Yeah. I've always said for years, if you put a John Deere engine, as shitty as they may be, in a pickup truck,
Oh my God.
if Chevrolet would come out with a pickup truck tomorrow that had a John Deere shitbag engine in it of any fashion, you'd sell out in 15 minutes.
And it wouldn't matter if you've been a diehard Ford guy your whole life.
no.
Because you love John Deere,
Wouldn't
you're
matter.
buying one.
You'd have one. Pioneer sticker already in the back window.
Exactly.
John Deere motor in the front. Chevrolet truck. A 3-time loser. Those
Oh, my
guys are
God.
lined up to push those things home.
Yep. Every truck pull for miles. Them things would be lined up to pull because everybody wants to pull their new Durham or new Chevy truck with the John Deere motor. I mean, it just.
I can't believe Bex doesn't have this in their rewards program.
I can't either.
They ought to get on this. Somebody call the Farm Bureau and get this happening.
And we need to do it like the old 30 and 40 series Deere. When you turn the key and it starts you, it automatically goes to
starts
10
at
down.
half throttle, brings it back down. Whoompa. There we go.
Cold start. We can do cold starts on TikTok.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We only need a handful of them.
Yeah.
And we can make a million videos out of this.
In
yeah.
fact, you know what? You're a mechanic. This winter, we should do that. Let's just get an old Chevy truck. Let's drop a John Deere motor in it.
You want to know the funny part about this? I have a buddy that has collected Suburbans and is repowering all of them with John Deeres.
No kidding.
He's got several with John Deeres.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So he's got 466 John Deeres
Yep.
out of like a 4440 or whatever
Yep.
in a Suburban.
No kidding.
Boom. Fire them up, drive them off.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine setting a stoplight with a straight pipe on a John Deere
I
466?
got to figure it's a traffic hazard for the panties falling off.
Exactly.
Like, it can't be safe.
You drive that to a Harley convention.
Yeah, no doubt. Handlebar, no steering wheel. You've got handlebars in there. Oh, shit.
There's a local guy here got a Ford truck with an IH motor in,
Yes,
Alan
he does.
Barnes.
Yes.
Used
Yep.
to pull it. I don't know if he still got it or not, but
Yeah, we got another local guy here who's got a Ford truck with a 360 International in it.
really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, but they're not panty dropping like a Harley guy would have with a John Deere.
Oh, my God.
If you could get that trifecta, wow.
It would be unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even, yeah, that would be over the top. Yeah, absolutely over the top.
Yep. They've got the market cornered, and they don't even know it.
Brand management at the digital age we're in now, brand management is probably more important than the product.
Oh, I think so.
I mean, it honestly is probably more important than the product. Like, look at some of your clothing companies, whether it be jeans or hats or T-shirts or whatever. Like, if they brand manage it well, their hat doesn't have to be any better than anybody else's. Just has to be cool. T-shirts, jeans, same way. Like, all that shit plays in there. If it's cool, you're good. You
And
just had to
even-
find a way to make it cool.
You even see a little bit of that with Tesla on their cars. They almost make it prestigious to have one.
Yeah.
You know, even though you and I know it's a giant pile of shit, you could
yeah.
give me one.
Yeah, I don't need one, but yeah.
But to the city people, this is prestigious. Look
Yes.
at me.
Yes, I'm over the top. Yeah,
Yeah, so that could be your next big
Yeah.
mover. You know what I mean? Eventually.
absolutely.
Well, what do you think? Hour 15 into this, we better cut this
Yeah,
dude off.
we better cut this off. You guys go to your Harley dealer and get your new John Deere powered Chevrolet to push your Harley home with, and you'll be good to go.
Yep. I need to hit the Prairie State Tractor guy up on TikTok. We got to start getting John Deere shirts with the location
With the
on
location, I'm a little bit upset that we've made them money on this deal. You know they're going to come out with these in a couple of weeks.
it.
and
Actually,
we've
we
missed the
could
boat.
beat him to it. I could call my shirt guy tomorrow, and I mean...
Deere will sue you for the logo.
And then, actually, yeah, we could actually sell them to the Deere dealers, and then
There you
we'll
go.
throw it out on TikTok. You know, hey, who's going to be the first guy to get all the shirts
There
from
you
all
go.
the locations?
I am a little torqued. You know, used to the ads had all the dealer locations on them, but they
Right.
don't do that anymore.
No, they don't. So now it's like a scavenger hunt. You got to find them.
Exactly.
And we'll just keep leading them on. First guy to get them all gets $1 million, but we'll just keep
But you're
leading
never,
them on.
you're never going to get them all.
You missed a dealer
Yeah,
somewhere. Not going to tell
too
you
bad.
where.
Too bad. They got sold out. You missed out.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.